Kind of a medieval spleenwort. This is another common little fern called fragile fern. I wouldn't recommend planting it because it's fragile. It just gets kind of tattered and torn up. And if you walk in the woods and you see it's a very delicate. The texture's wonderful, but it's not a.
Where did you get that example? In the garden?
At the Dixon's, yeah, it just spored up there. And the last two I want to mention, these are rock garden plants that are you don't think of ferns as being full sun, but both these little ferns take full sun. And this is hairy lip fern, another delicate kind of little rock garden fern. And this is Alabama lip fern. Lip, L-I-P. I don't know why they call it lip fern. But both of them can they're really good at putting on a rock wall, both of them. And again, can take full sun. And these actually, again, came from where one of them came from where I'm working. And I think it came in with some of the stones that we're building the walls with. And it now is colonized, and it's all growing all in the wall. So,
if you want to start a colony, is there a source of that?
Yeah, you can. Probably the place that carries more different kinds of ferns anywhere in the country is Plant Delight's nursery. You probably all have heard Plant Delight's in Raleigh, outside of Raleigh. Tony Avant's nursery. They have a huge. He's over the years has built up an enormous collection of ferns, all over, not just native, but he's got a lot of natives, but also a huge number of other tropical and Asiatic ferns and everything. So he's a really good source. And Fancy Fronds is the name of another fern nursery, Fancy Fronds. So that's my little primer on ferns.
What about the native? I thought it was a native maidenhair sort of has.
I didn't have a picture. I didn't have a clump of that to go cut. But the other one that everybody knows is our maidenhair fern, northern maidenhair fern, which grows up on a black stalk and then has a horseshoe shape with the leaflets around the horseshoe. And I ran out of time. I should have stopped by Tortuga Gardens and grabbed one of Jeff's pots. But that's another one that really likes shady, moist conditions without wind. If you get in a windy site, it'll just get busted up, and so it needs to be sheltered and moist and rich. A lot of organic matter.
We may have an example of that.
You got a maidenhair back here?
I can't. We have several of them in the shade.
And I'll say one more thing before Hugh takes you around and does his thing with the design. Almost all these ferns like lime. Lime is the most underutilized gardening secret there is for almost everything except azaleas and calmeas and things like that. It's surprising. All of the richest wildflower and fern sites in these mountains have a soil pH above 6, and the really rich sites all usually have a pH of 6.5, which is approaching neutral. So the ferns, the trilliums, almost all the wildflowers, with a few exceptions, really like lime. And that's most people think, well, you're up in the mountains and everything. We've got these very acidic soils, but these little pockets that are really rich with wildflowers, almost all of them have got a pH higher than the rest of the area. So almost all these, and some of these really almost have to have lime. Those little lip ferns have to have a pH close to 7 in order to thrive. So don't forget about the lime.
I have a question. I'm very basic gardener. If it grows, I love it. If it doesn't, I don't know what to do about it. But I have an area of invasive fern, and it's beautiful. We love it.
It's probably one of those first two ferns I showed you.
I'm going to go right home and try to identify. But the young man that helps me with my yard each year at the end of the year cuts them all down. Now they come back beautifully, but should I leave them or should we cut them?
Oh, whatever, just for aesthetics. It's not going to bother the fern to have it to whack it, to cut it down in the fall.
The first year he did it, I came back and I thought, oh my, I just was sick, but it came back up and it was just fine.
Yeah.
I didn't know which was the better way to go on that.
It doesn't make a piece of difference.
Okay.
But cutting them back down, will that help them to spread?
No,
Okay.
no, it won't. And you're talking about cutting them down after they die down in the fall.
Yeah, he just whacks them off.
Right,
I mean,
just
you
weed
can't
with
even tell there was a fern there.
Right. Yeah. And they're so delicate and they're and fine texture, they just almost just dissolve into the rot real fast too.
I have a question about the native dogwood. That apparently there's a fungus.
There are two fungi. One of them's anthracnose, which at high elevations will kill most of them or leave them sick. And the other thing is powdery mildew, which is not just up here, but all over this is just in the last 10 or 15 years. There's a strain of powdery mildew that gives that kind of whitish look to our native dogwoods. And there's nothing to do with spray either. Either don't plant it or spray them. If you want them to look decent, there's just no other, there's no organic, or plant Coosa dogwood, or one of the hybrids between the Coosa dogwood and our native dogwood.
I don't ever put them on a plant anymore. For the last 10 years, I've had total failure. And it's the number one thing that people call back and say, our dogwoods are dying. And it's just, and so Coosa's a great substitute. And you'll see some Coosa's in my backyard.
What do you spray the mildew, the powdery mildew with?
You can spray the powdery mildew with any good rose spray, Valeton or propiconazole or Funginex, trifluorine, anything that. If you got any roses, you can spray for powdery mildew with the same thing you spray for the roses. That doesn't control anthracnose, but it does control the powdery mildew.
There's a bug that gets in the ferns
and rolls. Yep. I said there's nothing that gets on ferns. You made a liar out of me. There's it's called a parallid moth, and it'll roll up the tip of and it's particularly bad on the marginal wood fern.
Yes, it is. And you spray?
No, you don't want to spray, but what you can do is you can just go by and just.
I did that.
Do that, yeah, and just kill the larva. But he's already done his damage. He's already rolled it up. You can also just pinch off the tip, and it's certainly not worth. It's not hurting the fern. It just doesn't look so hard. But that's the only pest I've ever seen on a fern is that parallid is the leaf roller. Yeah.
Seems labor intensive.
Well, they don't get every one. They just a few of them on each.
And it's right now.
Yeah, it's right now. It is.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, you're right. Anything else for you?
We've got those ferns that grow. Edmund is our neighbor between my house and yours in the back that I thought were so pretty that I dug up and moved to the front island and planted in 4 different places. And then I put the wildflower bulbs in. I probably should get the ferns out, shouldn't I?
That's a New York fern, probably that you transplanted.
Yeah. Okay.
No, because the ferns usually come up after the trilliums and the bluebells and stuff. So it actually is nice because as that foliage is going down, the ferns are covering that up, and you've got something there for the rest of the season.
Oh, really?
So they're not really competing with the wildflower.
They wouldn't overtake the.
No, they.
Okay, great.
Not unless it's now the hay-scented, the great big hay-scented fern will kind of is more aggressive than the.
I think it's the New York
fern is shorter and it isn't a problem. It actually works really well.
We've got a big pink native dogwood, huge one right behind the house, and I think it's fairly healthy, but. What do you spray it with the fungicide for?
Anthracnose.
For both of the diseases that you talked about?
Yeah, if it's and there's some dogwoods that are more resistant than others to powdery mildew. You might just get lucky and it's not bad. And the other thing is the powdery mildew is less bad in shade. If the dogwood's in full sun, the powdery mildew is worse. So one of the cultural things you can do, if you've already got a dogwood, just don't go cutting down all the stuff around it. You don't want too much shade because then you don't get it. It doesn't bloom very well. But so some shade actually is beneficial with powdery mildew. It doesn't make any difference with anthracnose. And anthracnose actually gets cankers and ends up killing, just flat out killing it. So.
Isn't this
Dargan?
fabulously interesting?
Yes.
I think if you know, Hugh, you can do anything you want to, but if you all would like to walk around, and he'll talk about plants, but then we'll walk around the garden. I have set up a little reception for everyone to enjoy in the house. We'll have elderflower cordial as well as some biscuits.
Well, don't go away because
Do we want to do this first?
we went and a lot of this came out of the village green, but we picked these flowers just to have arrangements last night, and
That's a native dogwood.
This is a native dogwood, and I was going to ask Mary Palmer what.
And most of them look like this with a little fluffy flower head. And this is a fabulous bird plant because it gets a white berry, a very ornamental berry. The trouble is the birds eat it usually before we can afford. So this is a really good wildlife, and this grows in swampy, wet areas, gray dogwood.
Yeah, this came out of the village green.
Yeah, out of the swamp.
Yeah.
We were helping beneficial pruning practices.
Yeah.
Right.
And then the elder flowers over there, which might be nice to show, since that's what our cordial is.
This is what we made it. Mary Palmer is famous for her drink. It comes. So she was picking examples of things that look like elderflower that you would want to know how to distinguish when you get so.
You could make a cordial out of the dogwood flowers.
I tell you what, I'll let you be the first one to drink it and tell me.
If you know your leaves and have the patterns on the leaf, you see a leaf like that, it's always a dogwood leaf because it's I think how would you describe that?
It's got the look.
That's the look like a dogwood in no other plant that I know of.
Viburnum looks a little bit like that, but not.
There may be a viburnum in there, and there was one alternate leaved and the other opposite, or are they both opposite?
That's dogwood.
This
That's
is
dogwood.
You know, that's when she says opposite, the leaves grow opposite each other there and there. So it's
I think all those.
all those dogwoods.